piece of feedback I often get about doing this sort of continuity stuff and really in the BIA is this is very businessy. How do I apply this to other scenarios? I'm going to take the impact assessment and apply it to, let's have some fun with it, because you can use these things for anything. Let's do it and apply it to how to get a girlfriend. Let's have fun with that. Okay, so we have impact assessment, or impact assessment. Okay, we would have a given function. Let's look, we have function, we'd have process, we'd have application levels. Let's have some fun here. We'd have the overall organization, which is Bob. Bob is the organization. We're doing an individual here. Bob is the organization. Bob has a bunch of different functions. They would have a function of work. They'd have function of find partner. They'd have a function of a whole bunch of different things. Let's say that we have the function of socialization. So within the function of socialization, there are sub-processes. There are things that that Bob does. Bob would have friendships. Bob would have so like make friendships or maintain friendships. Bob would have find. I would say partner, but we're talking about like girlfriend here. So Bob wants a girlfriend. And Bob has work, right? So we have a bunch of different processes, like work relationships, processes that make up Bob's social life or socialization as a function, whatever. We're kind of doing this on the fly ad hoc, but this is the kind of idea. And then within these sorts of things, we would have applications that go into doing that thing. So in terms of the find girlfriend, there would be certain things that Bob would do to do that with an application. So let's do that. So we have an application level of an impact assessment looking at the process of Bob finding a girlfriend. So we have process, find, F-I-N-D, girlfriend, and we have good old Bob here, and then we have the different things that are going to go into Bob. Now, we have our applications. Okay, so we have our applications. Now, we'll figure out what the impacts are in a second, but we have to figure out what are the components that go into Bob finding a girlfriend. What are the things that girlfriend might be interested in Bob? What are the things that goes into this part of his social process? We're probably going to have some level of health and fitness, because Bob has to look Bob-tastic. So we have that. We're going to have some level of speech or charisma. So we're going to have some sort of like speech or charisma. We'll probably have, what else should Bob consider if he's trying to go into the dating market? He should probably be able to afford things. So we'll have money. We're going to have, what's other things that go into social status and stuff? We can have interesting stuff Bob does. So we can have interesting reasons. Whatever. So like, you know, the most interesting man in the world drinks insert beverage, whatever. So you have that whole sort of thing. Fine. You could expand this or contract it as needed, whatever. This is the general concept. Okay, so we have all of these things and we have Bob. Now we're going to separate these out once again for Bob. Fine. Okay. Now, what are the ways in which you can be impacted from a loss of these sorts of social things? You would probably have, well, I think reputational impact is actually going to map onto here very nicely. So we can have reputation. Financial impact, I don't think will be as relevant. We can actually map on operational and reputational to this actually quite nicely. So we can go operational impact. And then we have reputational impact. We have operational impact, we have reputational impact. Okay, Bob loses health and fitness. What is the operational impact? What can he now not do in the process of finding girlfriend? So let's think about this for a moment. The process is find girlfriend or attract other possible partner. You don't have health or fitness anymore. What can you now not do? You now may not be able to do active outings. So Bob might be limited. He might not be able to go on hikes because his fitness or health has gone down to that degree. He might, doing that long walk on the beach might have to be a short walk on the beach, etc. So you lose your ability to active outings. He might lose his ability to do grand physical gesture, like sweeping someone off their feet, maybe physically not in the cards anymore. So, grand physical gesture. Bob may have performance issues. We're going to try to keep this fairly family friendly here. And if you know, you know. So there may be that. You get the general idea here. That's for what Bob can't do. This is not how people think about him from this. This is what he can't do for now. Okay, operational impact of losing speech ability or charisma. So Bob doesn't talk with friends for very long or doesn't talk a lot, and he loses some of his gift for the gab. He used to be a funny guy. He got pretty depressed, whatever. He lost his ability to effectively have great speech and charisma. Maybe Bob got involved in an accident and his throat or voice box got messed up or something and he can't speak as much. Whatever, doesn't matter how it happens, Bob loses this. What does operationally Bob lose? Bob loses potentially rapid/easy communication. Bob may also lose, in this example, ability to, I'm thinking like optimize situations. So you have a difficult conversation, you're having a conversation with somebody and you know how to move a conversation along in a positive way. You're trying to have a good time, etc. It's very possible that, if you can't speak or have that kind of charisma in the situation gets awkward or, you make things uncomfortable. So Bob might lose comfort ability and whatever else. Money. Bob loses his job. Bob doesn't have money in his bank account. Operationally, now Bob has lost the ability to pay for the date. Whether this is going halvesies or this is paying for the whole thing, whatever, you don't have any money, you ain't paying for the date. Bob may, depending on the loss of money, he may have stress induced because he is too distracted by not being able to eat breakfast. So Bob, with a lack of money, may have any number of issues from this. So he may lose his ability to participate in society. Bob may be having a really rough time when Bob loses income. Fair enough. Next, interesting reasons. So people have all these things they do. They have, degrees they took or jobs they have or hobbies. These are topics of conversation. If Bob doesn't have interesting things that he does anymore, if he doesn't have, he used to like music, but now he doesn't listen to it anymore. Maybe, the hobby that Bob used to be really involved in that everyone was talking about, no one plays that game anymore and no one really cares. So he may have lost relevant conversation topics. This is something that he had before that he doesn't have now because this is gone, right? The same type of idea. You have an impact from an application being lost to meet the process of find girlfriend, whatever, or court girlfriend, or whatever we're calling this. Either way, this is a way to sort of apply this. Reputational impact. Reputational impact. Bob. Now, the target demographic for the reputation in this instance is people that Bob is interested in. So if he's not healthy or fit enough for that target demographic, reputationally, he may be viewed as gross. He may lose attractiveness. They might think he's stinky, right? Because part of this might be hygiene. Who knows? Bob's shower breaks. Suddenly he can't shower. Now he's stinky. Okay, we have charisma and the speaking ability, reputational impact. He may be viewed as unintelligent, or he may be viewed as creepy, or whatever. He loses money. He may be viewed as a broke boy, which is generally a not nice thing to say to people, but I've heard it said way too often in modern times. He may be viewed as a non-provider, or some sort of things. This is how he's being viewed. Now, Bob may have lost his job, and he may have money saved up, who knows? But either way, you don't have a stream of income at which to provide. People may view you as someone that can't provide. If the person that you're looking at for target demographic is looking for that, then there's a reputational risk there. Case in point. Interesting reasons for being around, reputational impact. If you don't have that, you may be viewed as boring. Or if you don't have other things that interest you, have nothing to talk about, you may be thought of as a loser. Okay, this is the way that people perceive things. So we have an application failure of interesting reasons. The things that make you interesting, for whatever reason, that is gone. It could be because, let's say you were really big in the video game community and you go to these conventions where people play video games, and you were going to find a like-minded individual that likes video games with you. And, that was your target demographic. Your process find girlfriend is there, whatever. And it turns out the game you played, well, they shut the servers off and no one plays it anymore. You have lost your interesting reasons, the things that are interesting around you, because no one plays it anymore. Understood. You have now lost relevant conversation topics because no one plays that anymore, and you are now boring and a loser because you have nothing else interesting to talk about. Now, are you literally this? Not necessarily, but the risk is that you'll have a reputational impact of that. Same thing. Look, if you are a business and you are supposed to always provide service, and your big brand thing is we're always there, and then suddenly you're closed, you are a loser. That's the point. Okay? Your customer goes, well, I'm not going to you. I went to you for guaranteed service. You didn't have a continuity program, so now you're shut down. You're a loser. Like, this is the way this is viewed. So this is a way to apply, for example, an impact assessment to something completely outside the box of normal business. The theory, the idea still works. You can still break this down. This is the analysis part. This may feel fairly brutal, right? This might be fairly dress downing. This might make you feel bad. But the point of this whole BIA thing is to figure out where you're vulnerable, and with the impact assessment to figure out how the bad things happen, so that when you get to coming up with solutions, you can target the thing. I don't want to feel like I am gross. I don't want that to happen. That happens through this impact. I'm going to focus on making sure I don't lose this. I don't want, people to think that I am this. I don't want that impact. That is intolerable. I don't want that to happen. Got it. That happens from this. I'm going to make sure this doesn't fail. You're reverse engineering how the thing fails so that you can target the solution. Okay? You can apply this to basically anything. One of the most effective ways to plan a wedding is with emergency management. We'll get there later, but you can apply this sort of stuff to whatever, and it will just kind of work because you're looking at what makes you tick. You being the business, you being the individual, you being whatever you define you as. And that's the basic idea.
It's still BIA because it's Bob Impact Assessment.